You're walking down a street you've walked 1,000 times before. Same pavement, same houses, same trees. Nothing has changed, but beside you, a dog is experiencing something completely different. To them, the street is not familiar at all. It's new, not because it looks different, but because it smells different. Every person who walked here this morning left a trail. Every dog that passed by left information. Who they were, how old they were, whether they were scared, confident, male, female, healthy, sick. Some scientists believe dogs can detect emotional states through smell alone. Others have found they can identify diseases that humans don't even know they have yet, which raises a strange question. If dogs are gathering this much information from the world, what exactly does reality look like from their perspective? Because when we imagine being a dog, we usually imagine becoming a slightly less intelligent human. We picture seeing what they see, hearing what they hear, smelling things a bit more strongly, but that isn't what being a dog is. Not even close. A dog's brain is built around different senses, different priorities, different ways of understanding the world. The reality they experience may be as different from ours as ours is from a bat's. And the weirdest part? We've only recently started figuring out just how different it really is. To understand what it's like to be a dog, we need to start with their most important sense. Not sight, not hearing, smell. Humans have roughly 6 million scent receptors in their noses. Dogs have over 300 million. A bloodhound can have even more, but those numbers don't really capture what's happening. Imagine walking into a coffee shop. You smell coffee, maybe pastries. That's about it. A dog entering the same room is experiencing something closer to an information explosion. Scientists often compare human smell to hearing a song. A dog's sense of smell is more like hearing every individual instrument separately. The coffee, the milk, the person who made it, the person who carried it, all existing simultaneously. Neuroscientist Gregory Burns describes dogs as seeing with their noses, and that might actually be the closest analogy we have. For us, vision dominates reality. For dogs, smell does. Research from Emory University found that when dogs process scent, the reward centers of their brains become highly active. Smelling isn't just information, it's meaning, it's memory, it's emotion, and it's identity. In a very real sense, dogs navigate the world through an invisible landscape that humans cannot perceive. And that landscape contains something extraordinary: time. In 2016, cognitive scientist Alexandra Horowitz proposed a fascinating idea. Humans see time, dogs smell it. Think about a scent trail. The strongest odor belongs to what happened most recently. Older smells fade gradually. A dog walking into a room can effectively smell layers of the past. Who was here? When were they here? How long ago they left? To us, the room exists only in the present. To a dog, it contains traces of history. The past never completely disappears. It slowly evaporates. If that sounds impossible, remember that your reality is built around information your brain evolved to prioritize. The dog's brain evolved differently, and smell is only the beginning. Their hearing is equally alien. Humans hear frequencies up to roughly 20,000 hertz. Dogs can hear frequencies approaching 45,000 hertz. Sounds that literally do not exist in our conscious reality. High-pitched electrical noises, tiny movements inside walls, the footsteps of animals far away. Researchers have measured dogs detecting sounds at distances nearly 4 times greater than humans. Imagine hearing conversations from down the street. Imagine hearing things nobody around you can hear. Now imagine not understanding where many of those sounds are coming from. That's everyday life for a dog, which may explain why so many dogs suddenly bark at what appears to be absolutely nothing. Sometimes there really is something there. You're just not equipped to detect it. But perhaps the biggest misconception about dogs involves intelligence. People often ask whether dogs are smart. That's actually the wrong question. A better question is, smart at what? In 1994, psychologist Harry Jerrison suggested something important. Intelligence evolves to solve specific problems. Not every problem. The problems an animal encounters most often. Humans evolved to manipulate the physical world. Dogs evolved to understand social worlds. And the evidence for that is remarkable. In a famous series of experiments, psychologist Brian Hare discovered that dogs outperform chimpanzees at following human social cues. Point at something. A chimp often struggles. A dog usually understands immediately. Even puppies can do it. Even wolves raised by humans often perform worse. Dogs have spent tens of thousands of years evolving alongside us. During that time, they developed something extraordinarily rare in nature: an ability to read humans. Not perfectly, but surprisingly well. Studies have shown dogs can distinguish happy human faces from angry ones. They respond differently to different tones terms of voice. They can detect stress through scent. Some research suggests that they even combine facial expressions and vocal information into a single emotional judgment, which means your dog may not understand your words, but they often understand you far more than you realize. And that changes what everyday life feels like. Imagine living among a species vastly more intelligent than you, a species that controls where you live, when you eat, where you go, what happens every day. But imagine you become extremely good at reading them. Their emotions become your survival guide. Their moods become meaningful. Their attention becomes valuable. For a dog, humans are not background characters. We are the environment, the social environment, the emotional weather, and perhaps that's why dogs form such powerful attachments to us. In 2015, researchers used MRI scans to study awake dogs. One result attracted enormous attention. When dogs smelled familiar humans, activity increased in the caudate nucleus, a brain region associated with positive expectation and reward. In simple terms, the human wasn't just recognized, the human mattered a lot. Which brings us to one final question. Do dogs know their dogs? Do they understand themselves the way humans do? The answer appears to be complicated. Humans recognize themselves in mirrors. Dogs generally don't. For years, scientists took this as evidence that dogs lacked self-awareness, but that conclusion may have been unfair, because mirrors are visual tests, and dogs are not visual creatures. In 2017, researchers developed something called the sniff test of self-recognition. Instead of mirrors, dogs were presented with their own scent and modified versions of it. The dogs showed significantly more interest in altered versions of their own smell, as if noticing that something about themselves had changed. Not visual self-awareness, olfactory self-awareness. A dog's sense of self may exist, just in a form humans rarely think about. Which brings us back to the original question. What is it like to be a dog? The honest answer is that we don't know. Philosopher Thomas Nagel famously argued that we can never fully know what it's like to be another conscious creature. And he's probably right. But science has revealed enough to understand one thing. Dogs are not experiencing a simplified version of our reality. They are experiencing a different reality, a world built from scent instead of sight, a world where traces of the past linger in the air, a world filled with sound we never hear, a world where understanding humans may be one of the most important survival skills of all. The next time your dog stops to sniff a patch of grass for 30 seconds, remember this: they're not wasting time, they're reading the news, and for a brief moment, they're seeing a world you never will.